In this video, we're going to look at URL generation, which can be done in either the controller or in our views. In the previous video, we looked at how Rails interprets an incoming URL using the routing mechanism, which utilizes the routes.rb file, and you can write your own routes coming in and map them however you wish. These symbols will be matched up to specific incoming URLs, and they evaluated in order of how they're listed here. But this is only half of the equation. The other half is how URLs get generated. If we look inside of our list, our HTML view, we see we have these link to helper methods that create links to specific actions and controllers. And what isn't shown is that this controller in here will default to whatever the controller for that view is, in this case comment, but we could specify other controllers if we had them in here by just putting a symbol for the controller. So it would be : controller, and then whatever the particular name of that controller is, so perhaps it's movie. And then at that point, this would be a controller for that movie. Now, in this context, it doesn't really work, but that's how we would add the controller in here. And Rails pretty much picks up that if it is in there, it's in there by default. This action here of our link corresponds to the method, whatever particular method that refers to. In this case, it's show, so it refers to this method right here that's going to get called. And then finally our ID gets the comments ID of what particular part of this for loop the comment is pulled from. And Rails pulls the ID and assigns the ID here by default. So if we wanted to create our own link, we could go into our controller and perhaps at our default view, or better yet, it might be better to do it down in our list view and say a link, which is just the instant variable that we're creating. And we're going to use the method URL4, and we'll say controller. And let's go ahead and use comment. And then action will be show. Now we'll leave it at this. And let's go over here, and we're going to use this. So better yet, instead of show, let's do new. So I've created that inside of my controller, so let's go ahead and use it. So I'm going to do the same link to, but instead I'll just give this a name and say new, and then put a link. And what you're seeing here is that the mechanism used to create these links, the URLs for these links, is the same mechanism used up here. This generates a string. So if we use it in this context, let's go out here and regenerate this, and you'll see a new, and it just goes out and goes to the new form. If I click on it, you'll see that will go to a new form. If, however, I go into my list and actually remove this link and just leave it at a link, and I'll not touch our controller and regenerate this, we're going to actually see the text generated here. So you can generate your own URLs out of your database, out of your application, however you want. There might be specific circumstances where you need to generate or take a URL that's in a table, in a field in a table, and push it out to a user. For example, a file that's stored elsewhere that's not within your Rails application, but you have access to that URL in a database, or can be generated like these are on the fly. So there's many applications for generating these URLs, and this can be done again in the controller or in your view.